I'm Daniel Martinez. It was predestined I was going to do this video for Mr. Canu for my physics class. I requested it, so here I am. Okay, so we're looking at solving for the net force acting on the center here. And when we look at something like this, it looks like lots of vectors, but they can be broken down into x components and y components. Remember, x components are horizontal, the y components are vertical. Okay? So with that, when we look at the net force, it's going to equal the summation of all the force in the x direction total plus all the force in the y direction total. Okay? That's the key thing. So when we analyze where are these x vectors going, these force in the x direction, so you can see here F1 in the x going this way, F2 in the x going this way, F3 in the x going this way, and notice it's in green. I do that on purpose. Okay, so when we look at it, how can we determine that? Well, when we see here, here's our hypotenuse of our right triangle. Here is the adjacent, because this is our angle of 30 degrees. So if we look at trigonometry, it's going to be the cosine. Okay? So the cosine of 30 degrees is going to equal to x over 5. Okay? That's what it is. And you'd say, but wait, why? Well, cosine, remember, it's adjacent divided by hypotenuse. This is our angle of 30 degrees right here. Okay? So to figure out our x component, we're going to need to take the cosine of 30. We know it's the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Well, this is the adjacent. This is what we're interested in, our F1 in the x direction. 5 is our hypotenuse. So let's go ahead, let's take a quick calculation here. And let's see. Cosine of 30 equals 0.8660. So we know that F1 in the x direction is equal to 0.8660, which is equal to x over 5. So that's what we're going to get. So we're going to multiply that 0.8660 by 5 to get our F1 in the x direction. And that gives us 4.33. So I'm going to erase this, and I'm going to put in the value for x1x. Okay, and that value is 4.33. It is in newtons, and yes, it is a positive number because it's going along the positive line of the axis. Now, let's take a look at F2 in the x direction. If you notice, our angle is here, our angle of 35 degrees here, and here's the hypotenuse of our right triangle. Here is our y component, here is our x component. Our x component, right here, this is it. So we know that the cosine, is it cosine? Here it is. This is the opposite of our angle over hypotenuse. So that's not, that's the sine. So we're going to need the sine of 35 degrees is equal to the value of F2 in the x direction divided by, in this case, 8. Okay? So when we look at the sine of 35, that's going to equal 0.5736 is equal to x over 8. So now we can multiply 8 times this to get our x times 8 equals, and we now have 4.59. Okay, so we're going to have our 4.59 in there. Okay. Now in this case here, it's negative because it's going the negative direction. So that's negative 4.59. So that's what we have on our F2 in the x direction. Okay, notice we used the sine, not the cosine, because in this case our x here is in the opposite of the angle here. Okay, now let's take a look at F3 in the x. So this should speed things up a little bit. So F3 in the x, that is going to equal, well, let's see, here is our x, Here is our angle of 45 degrees, so that's adjacent over hypotenuse. So that's going to be cosine. So the cosine of 45 degrees is going to equal our adjacent x over the hypotenuse of 10. So that's what we're going to have. So with that, we'll have the cosine of 45 equals, okay, that is 0.7071. So that's our cosine of 45. That equals x over 10. So now we can multiply it, and we walk away with 7.071. Okay? And that's going to be negative as well, so negative 7.07. We're just going to go with that, okay? So now we have got all our x's together, okay? We got all our x's together, and we can now add those up. We're going to add those up, and why we're going to add those up is because we're going to have x total. So we're going to add those up. You'd say, but wait, we're going to have a negative number. Yeah, we are. And what does the negative tell us? It's telling us it's going in the negative direction. Okay? That's all that it's doing. It's not a big deal. Okay. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's see. Negative 7.07 plus negative 4.59 plus 4.33 equals. So for f of x total here, ladies and gentlemen, I have negative 7.33. That's what I have. That's all of it, adding it all together. And again, if you're not understanding where I'm getting the numbers from, go and rewind it. Take your time. This is not a contest. This is not a race, okay? So far I got 7.33. Okay, now I need to find my y totals. So it's going to be very similar. I'm going to be drawing my y vector here, and this is f1 in the y direction, and here, this is going to be f2 in the, f3 in the y direction, and down here is going to be my f2 in the y direction. So this is what we have. So one of our y's is going to be negative, right? Because it's below the 0 line. These two here are going to be positive. Even though the x is negative in this quadrant, the y is positive because it's above the 0. Okay? So let's go ahead. Let's look at f1 in the y. And you know what? We're going to do the same thing. We have opposite over hypotenuse. What is it in the trig? So, okay, so that's going to be the sine of 30 is equal to x over 5. Okay? Then when we look here, because again, this is the opposite over the hypotenuse. This is our angle. This is the opposite of our angle. So if we look at f2 in the y, we're going to look, and again, if you see here, it is adjacent to our angle because our angle's here, right? I know the line is down here. It's kind of hard to do those lines, but the angle is here, and that's adjacent. So guess what? That's going to be the cosine of 35 degrees is equal to x over 8. Okay, then we have f3 in the y direction over here, and again, this is opposite over the hypotenuse. So with the opposite, again, it's going to be the sine of 45 degrees is equal to x over 10. So this is what we have. This is what we have here. So let's go ahead and let's calculate these. All right, so clear that. So sine of 30 equals 0.5, okay? So with that, okay, it's going to be 2.5. So F1 in the y is going to be 2.5. So let's go ahead. So F1 in the y is going to be 2.5. Okay? All right, that works. Let's look here for F2y in the x. So we're going to enter the cosine of 35 equals, and that's 0.8192. 0.8192. So we're going to multiply that by 8 to get our x, and we walk away with an F2y equaling, and this is going to be a negative, isn't it? It is, because it's going below the thing, negative 6.55. Okay, our last one, F3 in the y. So when we look at F3 in the y, we're going to look at the sine of 45. Okay, so with that, sine of 45 equals 0.7071. Okay. So 10 times 7071, 0.70, that's going to give us 7.07. And in this case, it's a positive, so 7.07. So these are our y components of our three things that you can see here. Okay? All right, so let's erase this, because we still need to do a little bit of work here. We need to add up all our y's together. And yes, that does include the one that's negative. Okay, so I have 2.5 plus 7.07, okay, minus 6.55, and I walk away with an Fy total of 3.02. So that's what I have. So my f of x total is negative 7.33. I have our Fy total of 3.02. We're almost there. Now, what we looked at all the x's, if we put them in one long line, and we looked at all the y's, and as if we put them on the vertical. So we're going to try to find our net force. So we're there. We have here we have our A, we have our B. We need to square those bad boys and take the square root of it. Because remember, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So let's do it. Okay? So 3.02 squared equals. Okay? So with that, we got 7.33. That's a negative. We're going to square it, plus 3.02. We're going to square it. And that's going to equal C squared for us. Okay? So we're using the Pythagorean theorem again on this. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, now I have 9.12 plus 7.33. We're going to square that bad boy, and it's 53.73. Notice the negative is going to go bye-bye. We're not interested in the direction at this point. We are only interested in what's the total net force acting on that center. That's it. We're not worried about how many degrees east of north or north of east or south of west. We're not worried about that. I'm only interested in what's the net force. And remember, the net force takes into account, okay, the negative direction, the positive direction, all of it. Okay? So now we have this. We're going to add them together. Plus 9.12, and we go away with 62.8489. I am now going to erase this. Okay. So we now we'll have to take the square root of 62.85. We're just going to make it easier that way, and that's going to equal our C. That's going to equal our answer. Because these were squared, okay, according to the Pythagorean theorem. I squared them and I added them up, and I got 62.85. I'm now going to square root it. Squee! I cannot imagine what it's going to be at this point. And our final answer, ladies and gentlemen, because it was predestined, and you held on this long, it's 7.93 newtons. That is, ladies and gentlemen, the net force that is acting on that center, doing all that work. Woo! Yeah. So, hey, I'm Daniel Martinez. I did it. I did it. Canu, I did it. I did it, man. I did it. I can do this. And you know what? You can too. Take care and God bless.